All right, guys, today we are going to begin the first of 4 days working on a research project. Essentially, today you're going to choose your robot, begin your research. Tomorrow you'll be finishing your research, possibly beginning on starting to create your presentation. But at a minimum, today is all going to be research. And you can see that the final presentation that we will work on it in class would be Friday. So let's take a look at what the presentation entails. I want to make sure I scroll down and take a look at the rubric first. You can see this is going to be a 100-point project. The first area in the rubric is going to be content, making sure you have all of the required content areas that I ask about in the lab document, which we'll look at in just a minute. Your organization of your presentation after you create it. And then also content 2 will be actually turning in your research notes that you are starting today in class. There are 2 example presentations. We are going to take a look at those tomorrow in class when I return. But let's start today in this assignment document. This will be where you need to look at today to basically be able to find out what robots are available for you to choose from, and then what are going to be the required content areas. Okay, so your robot choices are here. Now, if you happen to be familiar with robotics and you know another robot that you would like to research, you are able to do so. But it needs to be a real system. It can't be something that we have seen in a cartoon or in some type of comic strip. It has to be something that is real. You'll choose your robot, and then we are going to research again, and then we will create the presentation. So all of the items that you research today should be written in this document. You need to make sure you are writing them down in this document, not putting them in a presentation software yet. So you shouldn't be copying straight into Google Slides or into Keynote. That would be plagiarism. So you need to be taking notes today. Absolutely no presentation software should be opened. So, question 1, you need to look at what the robot does. We need to know what its job is, the tasks that it is doing. Second question, is it basically a robot that functions very similar to a human? Can it pick things up? Can it move things like a human would? Could it communicate with us like a human? 3 is looking at where that robot is being used. Try to be as specific as you possibly can. What company is using it? What country? What state are we finding that in? Our first bit of robotic vocabulary comes in question 4. So we're looking at your robot's work envelope. And as I clarify in the parentheses, this is looking at how flexible your robot is. How many bendable areas does it have? This does include kind of ballpoint areas that are kind of rotational. Sometimes you'll directly get this number. Sometimes you're going to have to do an estimate and make sure that you give us that piece of info that it is an estimate. Number 5, is your robot multifunctional? Meaning, can it do more than one thing? Picking something up and putting it down would be considered the same task. But if it could pick something up and rotate it, then that would be a second task. Okay. How is the robot taught to perform its task? You need to see if you can find what program is used to program your robot. So you might have to look at, and change your search around and say, what software is used to program the name of your robot? What program is used to code your robot? So kind of switch your vocab up when you are searching for that question in Safari, so that you can see that you have at least looked into what programming type it will be, because all of them are going to have some type of programming. What sensors does your robot have? This is a variety of things. So we might have cameras, we might have lights, video recording. It might have facial recognition. It might have temperature, humidity. All of those, again, are going to be different types of sensors. So there are lots of different ones. Which ones does your robot have? Number 8, look at the advantages and disadvantages of your robot when it is completing a task. You can, although it says when completing a task, you could put the cost of a robot, because if we're looking at that, maybe it's the cost of paying a human versus the cost of paying a robot to do that job. I do want to make sure that you guys notice that it says advantages and disadvantages, as in plural, meaning more than one of those. So you need to list multiple advantages and multiple disadvantages. All right, number 9, what is your robot's impact that it has or could have? Some of these robots are still prototypes, meaning they haven't been released into the work field or to the public to be able to purchase. So look at what the impact it is already having, or that it could have if we started to see those daily. Okay. What types of jobs could your robot provide for people? I give some possibilities listed there, but obviously there could be more. 11, this one generally people tend to skip because they forget it, but it is not optional. I want you to give me some predictions about alterations that could be done to your robot. So you have to find something you would change about it. What would you do to make your chosen robot better? Maybe it meets your needs. What would you be doing to it? Okay. So I want you to make those predictions, explain. You could do that via words. You can do that via sketches and words. But make sure you give me something you would change about it. And it needs to be more than just, I want to change the color. Okay, that's not quite as extensive as we want to look at. We're wanting it to be something that makes it better, or, again, meets your needs better. All right, number 12. This really isn't necessarily a question. I don't need to see this. It's just a reminder. As you are researching, if you find good pictures, good videos, sketches of your robot, you're going to want to save those. You're going to need them to make sure that you have them to use later in your presentation when we start to create that in class tomorrow or the next day. So as you come across those pictures, make sure you are saving them. I also suggest while you are working today, if you find any good websites that you are using, bookmark them. You'll be able to remove those bookmarks from your browser on Friday, but we will need them to be able to cite the different pictures and words and writing that you are finding over your robot. So save all of those websites into your bookmark. And I'm saying that because no, Google is not a resource. Google is a search engine, so you cannot cite Google as where your answers come from. Your answers are going to be coming from the different websites that you actually click on that have different academic articles or academic research about your robot. Again, today you are just choosing your robot and beginning to start your research. You do not need to worry about taking your research home tonight. Again, we will finish that in class tomorrow.